Okay, another weekend of study, another weekend of reading and writing and meditating and thinking about all sorts of things, and very powerful for me because I turn up on a Monday morning, quite the irritation for people because I'm really up and I'm really inspired and I'm really motivated, and it's really important for me to get this kind of stuff out because I think generally that's the way I kind of learn. So this weekend's been pretty good in that I've been looking at something quite crucial, and I think that is the word judgment. Now, I think it's really funny that when you look at your life, it's easy to. I mean, we barely realise how much judgment we are doing, and it could be that it's done on the quiet or generally is because I don't think people like to judge each other in public. And we do a lot of it in our minds, and we also do a lot of it even when we're watching the news, even when we're watching films, or just chatting on the sofa. And it's really, really interesting to me. And it's just, I suppose, if you use the philosophy that all minds are joined, if you're having a judgment about somebody, don't be surprised when you see them next that they're not that keen to have a coffee with you. This is the kind of karmic rule that kind of goes around that if you're thinking judgmental thoughts about anybody, then that's how it works. And I suppose it's how, I mean, judgment is okay. I think, it's how we make the choices in our lives, how we choose a certain way to go. Um, and there was a really lovely story over the weekend. It was a documentary that was related to me about, and it was to do with Africa, and they were talking about the antelope or the gazelle. I'm not sure which one it was, but they were saying these animals, they know of several different watering holes that they sometimes frequent, and they said the scientists wanted to know what was it that made the herd move in a particular direction. And what they noticed was on the outskirts of this particular herd was one or two of the animals would look to a particular watering hole, and then some others would look to another one, and some others would look to another one. But there was, in fact, a critical point at which the herd moved. Now, funnily enough, that was 51%. As soon as 51% started to look in the particular direction of one watering hole, then the herd moved. And I think that's what, for me, I'm hoping for in a way, is that I feel, and I don't know if anyone else feels it, but I feel that there is a shift going on. We are now talking more about mindfulness, meditation, Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy. We are now thinking a little bit more about our lives and how we process things. So really, the way that fits in for me is that we are moving towards that 51%, because ultimately the antelope want to survive, and so do we. And I think that was really important for me. But in terms of judgment, or whether we're judging which watering hole to go to or not, I think it's basically we are making choices about our future, essentially, although the future is promised to nobody. And most of, I think, what we want is probably born out of the idea that in some time in the past, we've had a lack of some sort. So we think that what we want in the future is the stuff that we haven't had before, whether it be the better relationship, the better house, the more money, the better job, because we haven't had that before. And I think we give this false idea that if when we get those things, that'll be when we are happy. And really, in truth, it's probably not what we want on a more deeper level. And I think from some of the reading I've been doing, there is this big fear, I think, that we sort of have. We're a bit scared of moving into the good space, moving into the light, going from the darkness into the light. We're scared of that because we've got so conditioned to our problems and to the things of our life, that we sort of go, well, okay, but if I drop all that drama, I'm scared of what I might find, or we're actually scared of the thing we want, which is very peculiar when you look at it. And I think what happens is, you say, if we drop all these things, if we drop all these dramas and think a little bit differently, if we drop the baggage of our past, then we'll be left with some kind of void that we now have to fulfill or fill up, and we'll just fill up with the new car and the things that we think we want. And I think that's sort of, for sometimes it feels a little bit horrifying when you get that feeling of a void inside you, and you think, well, okay, I've got to fill this. It's like when you're packing for a holiday. I've got this half-empty bag, and I'll throw a few more shorts and t-shirts in there to fill it out, and it's really not necessary. And I think so when we look at choice, and when we look at how we judge things, it's been quite a powerful weekend in terms of where, the way I'm thinking now. And in terms of the freedom of that, or the feeling of peace that we can derive, we've got to get to a point where we say, well, what if this is all there is? And to some people that might be quite horrifying as well. What if this is all I'm about? And you get to that point, you think, well, God, I don't want. There must be more than this. But what I want to do is shift to a point where I'm saying, well, if this is all there is, then I need to adjust how I look at that. I need to shift my perception of what is, so that I don't get that horrified feeling. It's like if we're constantly grasping for things, and we're not getting them, or we're chasing after things all the time, I think it's sort of, you get to a point where you start to feel the frustration of not achieving. And whilst you're always striving, never arriving, and you start that sort of, you get to that frustrating part. And I think also, when we really look at it, I think the things that we think that we want, on a deeper level, it's probably not what the universe wants you to have, really. Or on a deeper level, it's not what you really want. And a lot of us, when you talk to people on a deeper level, when you really get to know someone, ultimately, I think all they want is peace. All they want is a sense that things are okay, rather than this grasping nature of people, where they're trying to get on. And I think if you find someone who's constantly grasping and constantly trying to get something and get somewhere, it becomes a bit repellent in a way than attractive. I think it's more attractive for someone to say, I want these things in my life, but actually, it's okay if I don't get them. It's okay. I'm happy in my own skin here. And I think that's that kind of peaceful feeling that we're all in search of. So I think the more you grasp, you lose. You really do, I think. So we've got to get to this point of acceptance. And I think we've got to get away from this idea of judging things. Because I think, like I said earlier, if all minds are joined, then ultimately you're going to be affecting the global feeling. And this 51% that I think we're trying to get to, will start, if we're judging everything, if we're giving these attack thoughts almost to things, then we'll just be deflecting the miracle. In A Course in Miracles, which I was listening to over the weekend, they say that when you judge something, if you allow judgment to creep in, you deflect the very miracle you're trying to create. So I think, it's been a powerful weekend for me reading, and I wanted to get this down. I wanted to get this out of me so that I could sort of process it. And I didn't realize, just how judgmental I was being. And I think we've got to be very careful because, once we start judging things, as I said, we start to deflect the very thing that we're looking for. So, you've got to accept what is. But when you look at it in a different way and say, well, what is amazing. Here I am, and I'm living and breathing on this gorgeous sunny morning. Then, although it's irritating on a Monday, it's a better way of being. And I think it's not bad when you really think about it. So take that this week. Have a great Monday. Have a great Tuesday. Have a great week generally.